D23 fan events are known for being the place to get the latest scoop when it comes to everything coming to Disney. And so, since there are so many unanswered questions still floating around out there, I was really looking forward to D23 Brazil, the newest D23 event to hit the schedule. And I'm sure that I'm not alone, because with this being the place to get all the latest info, I couldn't help but wonder if some of the secrets that Disney's been holding close to their chest were going to be revealed. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Jeep. We're just hanging out in the Water Tower Publix parking lot today, sipping on a cold Mountain Dew, just chilling for a bit, enjoying the absolutely gorgeous weather. And I figured that we could sit and talk a little bit about D23 Brazil, because of course, there's a lot that's going to be happening here at the Walt Disney World Resort, as well as elsewhere. But of course, you know, we focus on Walt Disney World. That's our wheelhouse. And so with this new event having come and gone, I can't think of a better time to sit down with you and chat about some of the things that were discussed during this event. So, I mean, let's just jump in. Now, for those of you who might not necessarily be familiar with D23, like I said, this is a fan event. It's an expo. During these events, there's a lot going on. You know, there's like interactive exhibits, there's presentations, entertainment, and the newest event, D23 Brazil, is no exception. Or I suppose I should say, was no exception. The event took place November 8th through the 10th, so like I said, it really just wrapped up not too long ago. And it included everything that you might expect from a D23 event, including a panel of sorts where they talked about things that are going to be coming to the parks, including Walt Disney World. Now, there's been a lot of talk about what's coming to the parks recently. Of course, we know that we're going to be getting a Monsters, Inc. area, lots of questions up in the air about that. We know that Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America are going away, so lots of stuff that people have to say about that as well. You know, we've already talked about that in the past. But, you know, I was really excited to see what other little details might be revealed at D23 Brazil. And I'm sure other people were wondering the same thing too, especially like I had mentioned, with so many things still up in the air, especially Monsters, Inc. But we'll get back to that here in a bit. So there are a few things that were discussed very specifically at D23 Brazil that I want to share with you, some of which were highlighted on the Disney Parks blog, which is the official blog of Walt Disney World. Now, we have talked about Disney Parks blog before, and I have been very clear that it is a hit or miss resource. Sometimes it has great info, sometimes the info isn't accurate or just isn't complete. And I do feel like when it comes to D23 Brazil, it just didn't feel complete to me. But again, they did mention a few things, so let's get into them. Now, the first thing that was discussed, at least on Disney Parks blog, I don't know the order that they discussed these things at D23 Brazil, so bear with me if you saw any of this live. But the first thing that they discussed was a new float that's going to be coming to the nighttime parade happening at Magic Kingdom. The parade is going to be called Disney's Starlight, and it's going to feature, among other floats, a Moana float, which looks pretty lovely. I got a chance to see the artwork. Again, that was posted on Disney Parks blog, but I'll share it with you now. It's a good looking float. Looking forward to seeing what it looks like in real life. Of course, this is just concept art, so, you know, who knows? Honestly, I'm just looking forward to a nighttime parade returning to Magic Kingdom. I love nighttime parades. It adds something to the park. Another offering, which is always great, but also there's something magical about being at the parks after dark. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Now, the next thing that was discussed is the Pirate Lounge that's coming to Magic Kingdom. They released what I believe to be a second piece of artwork, a second piece of concept art for this Pirate Lounge. It does show another section, again, in my opinion, of this lounge. To me, it's kind of lackluster, not really interesting. I do appreciate that they gave us another look, but also it's not very exciting. It's just kind of loosely themed to pirates. When it comes to stuff like this, at least in my opinion, as great as it is to see more about what they're planning on delivering, I would rather not, you know, especially when it's so as this piece of concept art was. Of course, that's just my opinion. I also think that they're probably trying to play things safe because, you know, they haven't quite delivered on their concepts recently, but that's a conversation we've had before and we'll probably get into some other time. Now, there were also two other things discussed at D23 Brazil that weren't highlighted in the Disney Parks blog post about D23 Brazil. The first was regarding the Villains Land that is going to be coming to Magic Kingdom as well. Lots of Magic Kingdom news coming out of D23 Brazil. During this portion of the discussion, they basically focused on the fact that this is going to be what happens when the hero doesn't come to save the day, and they talked about the villains that are going to be featured in the land, which is quite a few, and it's everyone that you might have expected. So that's great, you know, it is another detail that they're sharing about this very highly anticipated land, but at the same time, it feels like a lot of nothing. I mean, sure, like I mentioned, more information, but I don't think that they told us anything that we didn't already expect from a villain's land. I mean, sure, it's gonna be a little dark, a little scary, feature Disney villains, including Tronabog and Maleficent, the Queen of Hearts, as well as a long list of others. So, you know, great. Glad they shared that little tidbit, but I mean, yeah, what else would it be, you know? So not much to share with us there. And finally, they did touch a little bit on the very controversial Cars attraction that will also be coming to Magic Kingdom. Now, this actually was the most interesting little tidbit, at least in my opinion, because we got some footage of them testing vehicles on a track. Presumably they're testing the track and just trying to figure out what the best layout is going to be. Now, I have to tell you, despite all the controversy, this looks like a lot of fun. Just like we mentioned earlier, this is going to be like a dirt track race style attraction, and it's got a lot of bumps and turns, and I just think that this is going to be a blast. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who have a lot to say. A lot of people are upset because of what we're losing in order to gain this attraction. We've had that conversation before. I don't think that this is going to ruin Magic Kingdom or the theme of Magic Kingdom in the way that some people think it's going to. As we talked about when we first got into this Cars attraction announcement, off-roading, dirt track racing is a very American thing. It's very out west type of thing, though you can do it anywhere in the country. But I do think that it fits into the theme of this area rather well. Again, I discussed that in the past when they first made this announcement. And honestly, if it all goes well and is executed well, which, you know, fingers crossed, I think that this is going to be a great addition to Magic Kingdom. But look, despite the fact that a number of things were touched on at D23 Brazil, I do feel like they kind of just said the same thing that they've already said before again, or told us things that we could have assumed on our own, like for example with the Villains Land information. Which, you know what, I can't say I'm surprised, especially with a new event like this, but that's not really the thing that has me going, interesting choice. That's reserved for the lack of information regarding Monsters, Inc. coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, this Monsters, Inc. attraction, or the Monsters, Inc. land that they're going to be putting in Hollywood Studios, has had a lot of people scratching their heads, trying to figure out where it's going to be and what we're going to lose so that we can gain this attraction. Of course, Disney has taken away some classic attractions at Magic Kingdom, so people are a little bit concerned, especially because there's a lot of scuttlebutt that maybe Muppets is on the chopping block, which no one is really happy about, but I can see exactly why they might think that, especially with all the neglect Grand Avenue and that entire Muppets themed section of the park has been subject to. Unfortunately, doesn't even seem like there was a whisper about Monsters, Inc. at D23 Brazil. Certainly not that I was able to find. Nothing, just crickets when it comes to Monsters, Inc. So we'll just have to wait and see. I honestly, like I've shared with you in the past, I have some theories. I personally think that this is going to end up being in the area of Backlot Express and maybe Indiana Jones. Like, I think that they're going to tear that down and replace it with this Monsters, Inc. area, but who's to say that it might not include Muppets? I'm not convinced that it's going to be an animation courtyard for a number of reasons. I know people really think that it's going to happen back there, but I don't think so. Not based on the concept art and not based on some of the other areas that are attached to what would need to be torn down in order to build this section up. Things like the Brown Derby, for example. But again, we got nothing. So I guess you and I can just sit here and speculate. Speaking of that, let me know your thoughts on all of this in a comment down below. I'd love to know what you have to say about any of the new information that we got, some of the concept art that we saw. Tell me about it. But all right, I think that's all for now. We've covered basically everything there is to cover, and now it's time for me to head in, grab some groceries, and then head home. I'll tell you what though, I can't believe that Disney is holding back on some of the information that they're holding back. I know why they're doing it. I think it makes sense for them to do it, but I'm so surprised that they are getting so down to the wire with information about things like Monsters, Inc. But I don't know, maybe there's a method to the madness. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day, wherever it is you are, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Until then.